Well,
Three,
good
two,
evening,
three.
viewers. Good evening, and welcome to the 411 Sports World Network. I am your host for tonight, Mr. Freedom Warrior, coming to you over the 411 Sports Network. And we want to give a shout out to 411 Sports Network and Mr. 411, who is hosting us tonight on their network. And be sure to subscribe to 411 Sports World, where you get the best in sports broadcasting from some of the most professional analysts and broadcasters in the world. Tonight, we want to focus on America's violence crisis. So, as you all know, about a week ago, we lost a very, very strong American patriot, Mr. Charlie Kirk. Can we see Mr. Kirk's picture? He was quite a patriot, a man who stood strongly and boldly in support of our First Amendment. He believed in freedom of speech. He carried his message from one college campus to the next, allowing students to express themselves, express and exercise their freedom of speech. And unfortunately and sadly, his life was gruesomely cut short by an assassin's bullet. And today we honor him, and his legacy will live on. As his wife Erica said, you just don't know what you have just done. I am looking forward to Mr. Kirk's work to continue, and many of us who support the First Amendment will not let his work and his life go in vain. I would at this time ask that we hear from Mr. Kirk in his own words. I think we do have a clip. Let's see if we have a clip.
Christian obligation of the government to fulfill.
But no, that again, it's never biblically obligated to use the state to do that.
Okay,
the
but
church
then
should do that.
Okay, perfect.
And that's so I personally give a fair amount of my tithes and my donations to local churches to help do these things, and I hope everybody else does that as well.
Kirk was also a proponent of the idea that the United States was built as a Christian nation.
One of the reasons we're living through a constitutional crisis is that we no longer have a Christian nation, but we have a Christian form of government, and they're incompatible. So you cannot have liberty if you do not have a Christian population.
Kirk grew up in the Chicago suburb of Prospect Heights and founded TP USA when he was 18 years old. The nonprofit now has a presence on more than 3,500 campuses. In February 2025, Kirk joined the Trinity Broadcasting Network to host a weekday talk show called Charlie Kirk Today. Kirk is survived by his wife Erica Fransby, whom he married in 2021, and 2 young children.
Well, as you can see, he was a champion for freedom, family, and of course, the First Amendment. And our heart goes out to Erica and the children. This man's life was taken. He was robbed of his life, his liberty, and unfortunately, we need to find a way to stop this from happening in our country. And tonight, I would hope that we could also focus on, before this broadcast is over, the root causes. Because we could point fingers all day long and say, well, it's the left, it's the right, it's the right, it's the left. Actually, what we need to do is find a solution. And we need to be able to talk and have some discourse and dialogue on how we bring this fever pitch down, particularly in political discourse. We already know that there's violence out in the streets. Our president is addressing that issue right now with violence in our cities, inner cities. But what we need to do is also look at the political violence. Political violence is metastasizing across this country. So tonight, I would hope that we could have a bit of a discussion on what are the root causes of political violence in America. So at this time, I'm going to I ask that you subscribe to this 411 network. And of course, we have a button to where you can maybe make a comment if you'd like. And Mr. 411 and I will address your comment. We want to be respectful of all people who comment. And we would also like for you to appear if you'd like to, because all you need do is just, hit the restream, and Mr. 411, who's backstage, will will go ahead and put you on so you can appear on this show. Now, I'm going to wait for comments to come in, and we'll react to those comments and respond respectfully as they come in. And or if we have any persons that would like to appear, feel free to do so. Remember, this show is all about freedom of speech as well. This is with Mr. 411 and me, Mr. Freedom Warrior, is all about First Amendment. We're all about Second Amendment. We're all about your life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But I would like to also address those root causes. Remember that point I made earlier? So while I'm, you know, waiting for your comments and or for you to appear, I'm going to address what I think are root causes, or maybe the root cause. And from the freedom warrior perspective, I think the root cause is extremism. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't, but I think it's extremism. And extremism has several contributing factors. Now, this is according to Freedom Warrior. Okay, nobody gave me this information. This is freedom. This is from the Freedom Warrior archive. My position on these issues: extremism. Extremism has what? Maybe several contributing factors. What are those factors? Indoctrination, brainwashing. You know, where Charlie went, he went into territories that others dare not tread. He spoke to people who didn't agree with him, but he did so respectfully. And many of those people to whom he spoke were those who were either brainwashed or indoctrinated, which leads to extremism. On a university campus, one would think that universities in America are supposed to be bastions of thought and dialogue, of higher cognitive order, where people come together and share ideas and thoughts. But unfortunately, in America, for so long now, many of our universities have been spreading socialism, Marxism, anti-capitalism, and other isms that have taken the college experience into a far left direction. So indoctrination and brainwashing is one of the factors that contribute to extremism. Victimization is another one, wherein people are persistently told and consistently told that they are not of value and they are under attack and that they can't participate in the democratic process and that they have no way up in society, they cannot be successful, they can't achieve, and that they're being held down. So, quite naturally, they feel like they're victims. And victimization, following indoctrination and brainwashing, is, in my opinion, that second contributing factor. Now, there's another contributing factor: politicization and demonization. Now, here's where our elected officials take part in this kind of scenario. Elected officials, they rebel against their fellow members in these halls of justice and legal proceedings. And what do? They vilify their fellow members. They even disagree at times with particular executive, judicial, and executive actions, and they put forth every effort to conjure up an uprising. And even in the members of their party, they, try to tell their constituents that their fellow representatives are bad people and they're doing bad things and they're going to do things to hurt you. And they use their elected official position to spread propaganda and issue propaganda on issues of national importance. Some go so far as to call the people on the other side of the aisle racist, fascist, bigots, homophobic, white supremacists, and MAGA extremists. So here we have politicization and demonization, which contributes to this extremism. Then we get to a point of polarization. At this stage, there are those who stoke the flames so wildly, the flames of indoctrination, victimization, polarization is the result. They're not satisfied until they achieve this polarization. And polarization is where they separate the masses. It's us and them. By this time, the political leaders see themselves as celebrities too. And many of them, they appear on talk shows, at certain news outlets, even get their pictures on magazines and tabloids, and appear on late night TV. But do they realize the damage that they have done? Because, in my opinion, I'm speaking as a freedom warrior, the last contributing factor is this weaponization. And we have seen in our country where agencies of our government have been weaponized against the public, against the people that they don't agree with, throwing people out of school board meetings, sending people into churches to spy on them. And at this point in time, I would say to you that this weaponization is, in my opinion, is what leads to violence, riots, looting, destruction of personal property, private property, public property, government property, and yes, of course, murder. Senseless bloodshed, cold-blooded assassination attempts, and successful ones at that. Poor Mr. Kirk, God bless him. He's resting in the arms of Jesus tonight. And this is what these people have done to our country with political violence. Now, these are my views, and I'd like to hear yours if you would like to share them. So our line is open. You can appear or you can put a comment in and we will address it. Mr. 411, are you still here tonight? Okay, I haven't heard from Mr. 411, but if you would like to join the conversation, please feel free to do so. And in the meantime, we will listen to more of Mr. Kirk's speech as he addresses his perspectives on the freedom of speech in America. Mr. 411, can you roll some more of Mr. Kirk's footage?
That Charlie Kirk just got shot in the neck. Hey, ooh, ah, ooh.
I needed some good news today, damn it, and oh my God, thank you.
Eye for an eye. I think the only thing that went wrong that day was that Trump wasn't standing behind him getting a secondhand bullet.
I, on the other hand, do cheer when bad things happen to bad people.
Charlie Kirk got shot and he's dead.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is why we have violence in America today. And I'm just going to say that most of it comes from the left. We've got to admit that because it's very evident and obvious. Because, as I mentioned earlier, the root causes, those root causes are the factors that undergird those root causes: indoctrination and brainwashing, politicization and demonization. All these things have contributed to where we are right now in this country. And we have to also hold our elected officials accountable for what they say and what they do. They were sent there to represent all people, not separate them out and say, well, we support this group and we don't support that. So at this point in time, I'm going to leave it open to those of you who are wanting to maybe comment and or appear. So the floor is open. What do you say,
Right.
Mr. 411?
Well, I mean, this is obviously a terrible situation. We don't want anybody to be assassinated, if you will. And I'm saying anybody. What I mean by that is, our citizens in this country. We don't. No one wants that. I would. Well, I'm speaking for everybody, and I probably shouldn't. But I think that the vast majority of the people in this country does not condone what happened. You know what I mean? Like, despite whatever views, that we agree or disagree on, because I don't agree with all his views. There's a lot of views I don't agree with him, but there's also a lot of things that I do agree with him on, what he said, from some of the things that I've listened to. And I will be first, go ahead and first one to admit that honestly, I didn't even know who he was, didn't realize who he was until this unfortunate incident. Now I've seen some videos, and now it's like, oh yeah, I did see some clips of this man, share his views, but I just didn't know who he was. I just thought, okay, it's just someone in social media that goes around, or someone that goes around and states his views of what he believes in. And whether
Mm-hmm.
I agree with all of it or don't, this is definitely not the way to handle it in
Actually,
this
I
world.
agree.
You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm also not going to dance and shout, scream and shout about it. Um, Now, I have been very just kind of, neutral about it as far as the unfortunate part of it. I mean, I do feel for someone who loses a family member, loses a father, loses a, there's some kids that don't have their dad now, and a wife that doesn't have their husband, and a mother that doesn't have their child and father, etc. Um, and it's just one of these unfortunate things. And I believe that there's a lot in this nation that we all have to do better at. And one of it is we do have a freedom of speech, and the freedom of speech goes two directions. And for those who really don't like what Charlie Kirk, his delivery and message, you have the right to feel that way. And just like those who agree with a lot of his method and don't have a problem with his delivery and his messages, they have the right to feel that way. We all have a right to feel the way we need to feel. The thing is, we have to be able to deal with it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, I agree,
and,
Mr.
and you,
411. And I don't mean to cut you off, but you are exactly correct. But I will also
yeah,
say that you don't have to take an extreme position to the point that you don't agree to the level that you just want to kill the person you disagree with. And
yeah, totally,
that's
totally
where
agree with that.
we've got to, this has got to be brought under control because it is out of control.
But then, and that's the that's the one thing that I just feel like. I mean, out of all the people in the world, right, or all the people in this country, like there's going to be somebody that's going to be a rotten apple. And the unfortunate piece is, who's that rotten apple? How do you identify that rotten apple? How do you prevent something like this from happening again? You know what I mean? Like throughout the history of time, there's been assassinations, there's been crazy killings, there's been shootings in churches and public venues and bombings and all this craziness. Like, I mean, how do we get to a point where we prevent these things from happening? I mean, we're always going to have disagreement. We're always going to have people, not getting along as far as verbally and belief wise and all that. But
Okay.
how do we stop this? Like, how do
Well,
we
first of
prevent
all,
this?
what we got to do is we've got to stop indoctrinating our children.
Hmm.
It's after that young generation. If you indoctrinate and brainwash that generation, those are the people that are going to replace you and me. Those are going to be your future voters. Those are going to be your future community leaders. Those are going to be your future teachers, lawyers, doctors. And if they are indoctrinated to believe that America is bad, that people who support uh, and stand up for freedom, justice, and liberty, and the freedom of religion, and maybe they have a view of saying, "Hey, look, well, I don't agree with abortion," but that's everybody's right to say what they believe in, as you just said. But at the same token, when we allow this generation to be stolen and taken and dragged to the extreme, this is the result. The result is violence, and we've got to stop it. And I think it has to start with the educational process in our schools and universities. And we've also got to let our elected officials know that they need to stop parading and charading around, telling people that they're victims and having identity politics. Oh, you're protected because you're a transgender. Oh, people are after you. They're homophobes on the other side. That is not good. That is bad. And I think somehow Congress needs to set forth some type of ethics standard to rein some of these people in, because all they're doing out there is they're promoting the violence, fanning the flame. And people tend to listen to their politicians. Okay? So, I
Yeah,
mean,
and
that's my position.
and I'm going to throw this at you too. In the meantime, um,
Hmm.
Charlie Kirk's views, his angle, where he came from, his delivery, his message, his methodology or ideology, or however you want to word all that. Um, how do you feel about that? And I'm not saying that that's the cause of what happened, because once again, there's people from another angle that have views, and that can cause another side of people to be upset. But why do you think that Charlie Kirk was polarizing?
I don't think he was. I think he was a unifier. He was trying to bring people together. He was trying to get particularly young people, college age people, to realize that if you have a position or a perspective or a view, be able to defend it, and defend it justifiably and peacefully. I mean, now when he said, "Well, I don't agree with you," he wasn't attacking them. He did so respectfully. I mean, people disagree all the time. Even in families, people disagree. But does it have to resort to assaults and violence and physical fighting? No. I mean, his thing was, look, you have a right to express how you feel, but I'm going to tell you my position. And just like one position that he was in, that I recall, he was discussing an issue of fascism with a student. And he said, "Well, what's a fascist?" Guess what? She didn't even know. She couldn't define it. So herein, that tells me that she's just passing propaganda along. She doesn't understand why she believes what she says she believes. And this is what he was trying to get them to see, you know? And it's your First Amendment right, yeah, to speak out. But of course, be prepared and understand what you're talking about and why you believe what you believe. That's important, because otherwise, you're just being dragged along through life with someone telling you how to think what to do, what to say. And this shouldn't be happening in colleges and universities, particularly where these kids are supposed to be there, or students supposed to be there to do higher order learning and become leaders of our society. So they've got to do a better job of preparing themselves. So that's my opinion. And I don't think that Charlie did anything to negatively impact any student at any college. They may have disagreed, but learn to disagree, and this is where we got to go. Learn to agree to disagree and do so respectfully. But have you noticed? Let's compare, let's say, George Floyd murder, or the so-called alleged murder of George Floyd. What happened after the George Floyd incident? Rioting, looting, assaults, attacks on police, burning down government buildings and private and public property. Now, granted, one would say that was tragic, what happened to Mr. George Floyd, based on what information that you have that would lead you to believe that that was very tragic. We saw the tragedy in real time with Charlie Kirk, with this soulless person shooting this man, cowardly, shooting from a rooftop. Did you see any riots? Have we had any riots? No. We have any looting? No. Do we have any destruction of public, private, or government property? No. But what we did have were visuals. People praying for peace and unity all over the world. I mean, check it out. Look in the United Kingdom, look in Europe, all over the world. This man had an impact, had a positive impact. So therein lies the difference. Do we stick and hold to our faith in God? Do we respect the rights of other people's property and lives? Or do we riot, loot, and destroy? And the answer is no, we should not. And I'm sure Charlie Kirk would not have wanted that. And even more so, we who are people of faith, conservatives, Republicans, that's not how we handle things. So what do you think? Hello?
Yeah, you gotta repeat that part for me.
I said the conservatives and people.
I was backstage, so I didn't hear the.
Oh, I'm
what
sorry.
you said.
Well, what I was saying to you, Mr. 411, is that we don't respond to tragedies that way. We don't riot, we don't loot, we don't destroy property. But almost in every incident on the left, anything that goes down, they're ready to hit the streets. Like, Nancy Pelosi once said, I'm surprised that people aren't out there in the streets. Like Maxine Waters said one time, draw a crowd. You see somebody at a gasoline station, go out there and make a crowd. You make a scene. Why will we do? Why are our politicians doing that? They're not seeking peace, and they're not trying to bring the country together. They're trying to divide, polarize, telling people they're victims. And this leads people to extreme behavior. You're a transgender. Nobody likes you. They hate you. But you can come to us because we're going to look out for you. And then they lead them down that road of decadence and destruction until one day they load a bullet in the chamber and they kill someone that does not agree because they're doing it for the cause. So anyway, did we get any comments so far tonight, Mr. 411?
We'll get them. A lot of times, some people are traveling or they're heading home from work and things like that.
Yeah.
Different time zones. They'll get on.
Well,
There's there's
to
viewers
check.
out there. There's viewers out there. They just sometimes they gotta, they're not gonna everybody's not gonna dive into everything right away, but
Well,
we'll
I
get it.
understand. Yeah, I understand
Yeah.
that. Sometimes for them, the water's a little too shallow or it might be too deep, you know. But
Yeah,
I
we got
say,
Al. Yeah.
say again.
No, I said Alfred commented at any minute now. So hopefully he'll come out here and have something to ask or even post. Just like on the sports shows, we just like to, we encourage everybody to put their comments in there, even if they're watching it at a later time, that's more convenient for them. Um,
Yeah. Hmm.
they can always post their comments and it'll pop up at any time. Just like in our
Yeah.
fantasy football shows, we get comments 24 hours. We get them 24 hours, 7 days a week, and we'll just respond to it when it pops up on the timeline in the show.
Yeah,
So,
and we also
you
would
know,
like to remind our viewers to subscribe to the
yeah.
411 Sports World Chat Network and be advised that this is not the last Freedom Warrior show. This is
Well,
just the beginning.
yeah. And on 401 Sports World
This is the
Network,
inaugural show.
yeah, and it's 401 Sports World Network. So, is sports, obviously sports is like the source, but we also tackle, news and events outside of the sports world as well. And even within the sports world that's
Yeah,
not on the field and on the court, we
right.
talk about those things too.
There's
So
intersection. There's intersection in pro sports or sports in general with
yeah,
what goes on in the country. What it crosses that line into politics too, and
yeah,
or humanity.
yep.
Because I know, and I'm not going to mention the player's name, but I know of a player who, by identity, is a black player who donated money to the Kirk family in the aftermath of this tragedy to help support First Amendment rights and causes and to help support what Charlie Kirk worked so hard to build. So there's intersection. And then we look at the NFL, they've got end racism at the end of the end zone and other comments that they make on the football field. Am I right?
Can you hear me?
So,
I just want to make sure you can hear me first. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. I got you. But
Okay,
I'm talking now
that
about the intersection of sports and
yeah.
politics.
No, that answer is yes. And Justin Jefferson, from the Minnesota Vikings, has expressed that. I can say that as the sports reporter, if you will. Justin Jefferson, who's one of the top receivers in the game, uh, not putting up the monster stats now because of the quarterback that he has, which is a whole nother subject
Yes,
for
we can go there too.
a talk show. Um, but he's reacted to the situation and he's going to he's showing his kindness to the family. And
So since
again,
you put his name out there, I'll go ahead and put Lamar Jackson's name out there.
uh, yeah, that's good
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yep.
and there's intersection there. And I think it's a wonderful thing. And I think that more people across the spectrum ought to feel free. It's their freedom of speech to express themselves. I'm talking about Hollywood actors and other people who are trying to hide their conservatism or their faith in God. Come out, speak out. Don't be afraid. Live your
And
life.
I even say
Live it
it,
to the
like
fullest.
you can say it either way. I mean, and then there's going to be some people that I believe, Freedom Warrior, is going to stay right in the middle. They're not going to say nothing either way. And personally, I'm okay with that. I mean, if that's where you are. And but at the end of the day, though, like this is a tragic situation because you don't want this to happen to somebody else who has an opinion that may not be uh like from the angle that Charlie Kurt has. You know what I'm saying? And it's you don't want that to happen to someone else. So I think that we have to be mindful of those type of things. And also two things can be true. You may not fully agree with a lot of things, but at the same time, as a result of what happened, it's good to see that there are some people that are, stepping in and helping out his family members that are now there and have to move on without him. And you did mention Lamar Jackson, and again, that's an MVP candidate in the NFL, and
Yes.
and that's a great gesture by him as well.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
let's see.
Mr. 411, I got to tell you that
And check the bottom of the screen too when you get a chance. But go ahead.
the bottom of the screen.
Don't forget your thought. Go ahead and say what you had to say.
No, I was going to say that, for many years, even growing up in the deep South, of course,
Yep.
lived in Philadelphia for a while too, but I grew up in the deep South,
Right.
wherein I had to sit up in the balcony to watch a movie because we couldn't sit down, stairs. But
Was that
that
because
has
you was black?
changed. A lot has changed. We rode on the back of the bus. I've done that. But you know what? I don't hate anyone for what I experienced in my lifetime because
Mm-hmm.
things have gotten better. I mean, I even got elected as the chairman of my local Republican Party. And I served 6 wonderful years in that position and contributed mightily to its success. And I also served in the military. And I love my country. I
Yeah.
put my life on the line for this country. And I think that everyone should do that. You enjoy the freedoms because of people who serve in our armed forces. And these people who have the right to say, "Ooh, Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck." Guess what? There are many people who died to give her the right or him the right to say things like
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Oh, and one more thing. That let's see, Alfred. Okay, I guess it's
Now,
Alfred.
Fred,
If you run it all the way together, it'll be Alfred. All
okay.
right, Mr. Freedom Warrior. Who do you think is going to take the lead with Charlie gone?
Well, as of right now, I mean, there are other people within the organization who have the ability to move it forward. And the first being his wife, Erica. She's already committed to that. So I'm looking for her to do a lot of good work going forward to, as she said, she's going to grow this organization and she's going to make it better and bigger than it's ever been. But there are other members within the ranks, all of whom I don't know by name, but I'm sure there are those within the ranks who will step up.
All right, we thank Alfred, and let's run that together, Alfred,
Mhm.
for that question there. Any more, like I say, put them out there. Like, subscribe to the page, hit the notification bell. That way you'll be alerted every time Freedom Warriors has his episode, and also all the stuff that's on 401 Sports World. You'll have privy to. So
Well, I
make
was
sure you
hoping
do
that
all those
maybe we
things.
could get a viewer or two to offer some suggestions or ideas on how we can stop this cancer from spreading across our country, this violence, particularly political violence. As I
All right.
mentioned earlier, President Trump's doing all he can do to curb violence and bring down the violence in certain cities across our country, in blue states, red states, blue cities, red cities, and the one thing we need to do too is cut out this blue red thing, this left and right, and this us and them. We are all Americans, all of us, and we should support each other in spite of our political affiliation. But for some reason or other, people on the left just sometimes just don't want to accept that. They reject it for whatever reason. But, I'm going to stick to my beliefs, and I'm not out to hurt or destroy anyone or anything or anybody. I just would love to see us all be patriotic and love our country. And that's what I would like to see. That's my
All right.
vision, America.
Well, look, we'll clip that question and we'll roll that
Yeah.
question out on his own, and then we'll have it out there for people to respond to that as well. So that will be on here
Okay.
too. We'll get that out there more than likely, long as
Whose
the
question was it? Who
production,
said the
long as
question?
long as the production team has the moment, the opportunity, they'll get that done and get that out there. Probably tomorrow. That question that you just asked, and we'll see what responses come back for
Yeah.
that. What were you saying just now?
No, I said you. I thought you said you had another comment coming.
Oh, well, I mean, there's more that I've been told that are coming, but like it may come on by the time we get off. I know we have a certain amount of time that we're airing, so we didn't want to, go too long. But like I said, if people hit like, subscribe, notification bell, and share, because sharing is caring, they'll get this. And then of course, all the people that are following you, they'll be able to take a look at this too. Because we'll make sure it's out there for them to view at their convenience.
Well,
Uh,
God bless Miss Erica and the children and the family of Mr. Kirk. And today, I didn't really want to make this all about me, but I do want to let you know that I'm all about standing up for what's good about America and how we can have unity in our community and how we need to dispense with the inflammatory rhetoric. Okay. And I would hope that um, our elected officials will do a better job of representing the people.
all
Now,
right.
got a question. Someone asked, "How do we comment?" They want to comment, but they don't know how. So, can you
All right.
explain it real quick, Mister 411, before we
A-
check here?
Absolutely. All right. Absolutely. If they're watching the show now, we need to know if they're watching it from their telephone, I mean, from their cell phone, or they're watching it from their laptop. There should be a comment box on YouTube where you go in, where you can just go type right in there below, right below the video. There should be a comment box right there. If they want to jump in live, there's also a link that's sitting there in the comment section, and you just click on that restream link, and you'll jump in backstage of this right now, and you can appear like we are right now. So there's two different ways to do it, but there's definitely like a message box below the video, and all you have to do is type your message in there, and it'll pop up where we can see it.
Yeah, and I would say, don't hesitate. If you feel like you have something to say or you want to appear and express yourself, feel free to do so. And one lady said, "Well, how can I comment my iPhone?" And if you're on, as
That's
Mister
how you
Ford
do it.
just said, if you're watching the show, if you look down, you could see where you could come backstage, and Mister 411 will let you appear, and or you could hit the comment box, and you can type in a comment. Also, please be sure to subscribe. Subscribe because
Yes.
we're going to be moving forward with our efforts in broadcasting. And I want to thank Mr. 411 and his network for allowing us this opportunity to appear and to discuss these issues that are critical and crucial to the future of our country.
And yes, 401 Sports World Network is open. Like, and it's not only, it's from all angles too. So you may even see episodes, you might even see one tonight where the angle is from a different point of view. But we're open to that. You know what I mean? Like that's what we want to share because everyone has views. And you'll be able to hear from another side of situations. So and we do the same thing in the world of sports. We talk about different topics and we have people from different angles that have different opinions on it, but that's what makes this world great, right? Is that
That's exactly
people have
what
different
we go
opinions.
around.
Right. And then you
I
just take what
know,
you want
I
to
know a
take.
lot of people who have a lot to say, but I'm hoping that they could that they could somehow work through the technicalities to be able to appear and or submit comments. And
Yeah,
I'm sure
it's
they're
there.
out there. And if they're watching this show, I'm sure they're on the edge of their seats and the words are just about to roll off of their tongue if they appear, and they can write in a comment and tell us what they have to say.
Yeah.
And we're open to all comments.
Yeah. Whatever Alfred did, that's what everybody needs to do. And we'll work with that. Like all those people, just we'll get with them off air and then they can reach out and we can walk them through it.
Okay, well,
Right.
Mr. 411, I would hope that uh, those people who were watching tonight uh, at least have a takeaway, a positive takeaway of what was discussed here tonight. particularly from my perspective of the things that I pointed out about uh, political violence, mostly in America. And as I mentioned, extremism, because that's what lead people to these levels of sickness, mental illness. I would think they say is mental illness, but I think with some people it's just extremism, and it leads them to the point of committing atrocious acts and heinous acts against people they don't agree with. And in retrospect, we talked about indoctrination and brainwashing, victimization and demonization, and politicization, and of course, politicization and weaponization. And when you get to that weaponizing point, that's sometimes where society breaks down, order breaks down. So we need to focus on ways to make our country more unified and safer for all citizens, regardless of your political persuasion, regardless of your religious belief, and regardless of your ethnicity. Because in the end, we all are Americans. We are family, and we have to treat each other as family. We have to find that way to have unity and peace and understanding and compassion and empathy. So I guess that's my closeout, Mr.
All right.
411.
Okay.
And I would
Well,
hope then that on our next show that we'll have more people to chime in, or even we'll pick up some of the comments in the next show and uh, in retrospect and discuss those. Okay. So as we close out the broadcast for tonight, I want to thank those of you who did view, and I hope that you had the opportunity to absorb what was said, and of course that you could share your opinions even after the show is over. So we want to thank you for joining us tonight, and we want you one thing for you to know, America, and it's coming from your freedom warrior. We love you, and we love America. Good night, Mr. 411.